Christina, your assignment 2 looks good, and assignment 3 is good too. I see a lot of ideas here. Looking to transparency. I like the way that you're showing us what it looks like when red is over blue and when blue is over red. Also, there's a lot of care taken in the layout of this composition. With depth, you play an interesting game with us. You know, on the left side, we have a more standard understanding of the concepts where the large shape is saturated, it appears to be near, it's low on the page, it's larger. And in comparison, you know, there's a small dark shape that's toward the top of the composition. It looks far away. It looks as though it's a row of dominoes. With the right side half, though, you play a trick on us, almost as though you're testing to see if we'll perceive the cyan rectangle to be nearest. And in this case, rather than a row of dominoes, I see something that looks a little more like a wedding cake, where the top of the cake is smaller and also lighter. Now, looking on to vibration, this is a great example. However, you know, you could work faster if you made just one half of this at a time and then, you know, repeated it and copied and pasted and put the two together. I noticed right away that the centers with the alternating red and green rectangles are not the same size, and it looks as though they ought to be. Lakia, your assignment 2 looks all right. There are a couple of areas I'd like to question though. For example, on right, where gold goes over green, the area of overlap barely changes from the color of the gold, so there might be more difference there. Also, in center, I wonder whether that area of overlap shows that your template is falling apart a little bit. The remedy for that is to sample your best colors and use them in a new, fresh copy of the template. Now, with assignment 3, I would like to see each part in a multi-part assignment such as this treated as a work of art in its own right. I also want to mention that samples I show you from my past students are all by RP classes, so you shouldn't feel as though because you're an RP student, you're not as capable as people who've been in other sections of color theory. So here, looking at transparency, yes, you have the idea. With depth, it's less clear because you have a saturated color in the middle and a light one on the top. Also, large shapes tend to want to seem like they're forward. So we've got a dark, large shape, a saturated shape that's advancing, and also a color that is light and that's advancing. So it's not clear what's meant to be in the foreground or in the rear. Now, looking at vibration, you do have a warmer color and a cooler one. I checked this in grayscale, and the colors are not of the same value though. Hi, Brandy, your assignment 2 looks good. With assignment 3, I guess what's on the left is depth, and that's okay. However, I am going to challenge you to be more original with your design ideas for the final project. Now, center must be vibration. However, those two colors are not same value. And when you do have a warm and a cool color, both fully saturated and both similar in value, you get the most vibration effect. Now, I guess on right we must have transparency, but this is really tricky because we can't see the edges of the shapes. It's not really clear how the transparency is working, but what I'm guessing is that you've got a sort of dark magenta color stripe and then a magenta. The magenta one is semi-transparent and it lays half over the darker one, and then there's a white gap, and the whole thing's repeated again and again. Whoa, Tina, your assignment 2 looks okay, and when I looked at transparency in assignment 3, I like the way that that smaller version of the design is nestled in the center. And for anybody who can't quite see how she did that, I'm going to guess. I think that she copied the file and pasted it into itself. And then in Photoshop, you could do Edit, Transform, Scale, and shrink that down. Now, depth works well, And vibration is good too, though value isn't constant. And if it was, you'd have an increased effect of vibration. And I'm also going to say that with diagonals like this, if you're trying to get your stripes even, you may like to start with verticals and then do something like edit, transform, rotate in Photoshop, or you can see that you can rotate very easily in Illustrator. Well, hi Tanya, I'm taking a look at your assignment too, and it's pretty good. I would say the area of overlap on right looks to be too dark for the couple of colors that you're using. Also, check to be sure that your template's not falling apart. Now, looking at assignment 3, well, I would say these designs could be a little more complex and a little more exacting. I want you to use guides and rulers and zoom in and budge things to perfect placement. With transparency, you have the idea and you also have the concept with depth. However, with depth, I think we can see, probably due to the black background, that your spacing and placement isn't as precise as it could be. And if you didn't do it, what I would do in this case is make one rectangle and copy and paste it again and again and again, and change the color that way. They're all exactly the same size and proportion. Now, probably vibration is your most complex, and I think you're really going somewhere with that one. I notice that the colors are very similar in value, and that's great. That's what we're looking for. One thing is that it's possible that the black lines or that black backdrop that we see through the color shapes is diminishing the vibration effect. Hi, Tiffany, taking a look at your assignment too. You know, that ambiguous area of overlap is a bothersome color. Now, I think it's because we think of the paint color wheel and we think of the digital color wheel. Green and magenta are opposites, so when they're mixed together, you would get a neutral, a gray, or a brown, which is what you have. Looking at transparency, this is a nice design, nice sensibility to the layout of this composition. In depth, you show the concepts. However, I wonder if the shapes could be centered more exactly. When we look to vibration, 2 of your colors match in value, but the red is a good deal darker. This is an ambitious composition, but I'm going to urge you to be even more original with your designs. Hi, Althea. You know, looking at your assignment too, everything looks great until we get to the right side. There we want it to appear as though red is going over the whitish stripe, and outside of the area of overlap, that whitish stripe should have the same color as the other ones. Now, looking at assignment 3, well, the first one seems to be depth. I see you wrote depth on it, so I guess you want us to see the darker shapes as being far away and the lighter ones as being near. However, the way the composition is arranged, that's not really emphasized. When we look to the center composition, that one's one that's often used to show depth, in which case you could let the color get progressively darker toward the center, making it seem as though there was a hall or a deep corridor. With vibration, you want to have a warm and a cool color. These ones are quite saturated, and that's good. Also, it's good if the colors are similar in value. Hi, Robin. You know I'm looking at assignment 2, and your right and left areas of overlap look right on. However, I don't see how the center area of overlap is a mixture of the periwinkle blue and this red magenta color that you have. Now, when I looked at transparency, I'll grant you that's the simplest of your compositions for assignment 3, but I would like to see more, and I believe you can deliver more. Look, depth, well, that's pretty satisfying. One thing I'll note is that lighter colors advance, right? And larger shapes seem to look as though they're forward. So those 2 ideas, though they're not both color theories, are a little bit at odds. I want you to check the resolution on your files. They're looking a little fuzzy. And with vibration, I believe you have the idea here.